Welcome to the Board Game Snobs podcast. Critically harsh reviews with a touch of class.
Go, Jerry.
All right, we're ready, aren't we? For the greatest podcast that you could possibly be listening to right now. If you wanted to listen to shows or a podcast about something that's board game adjacent, this is Jerry. And Gaby's here.
Hello. Well, I didn't know. You change up the intro every time, so I never know what you're doing. You're keeping me on my toes. You're keeping me nimble and quick.
That's part of it.
Like Jack. Just like Jack.
Yes. You got to be Jack, be nimble, Jack, be quick. And
I have no candles, though. I have no candles.
We should that's something we should sell.
I've burned them all down. I was into candles briefly because for mood lighting, but the house got way too hot.
Who's the actress that sells her own candles now?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow. Her head was in the box, right?
I don't know. I've never seen one of her candles.
That was in 7. Gwyneth Paltrow got her head cut. Oh. Spoilers.
Okay.
Why don't we need to sell our own candles? What would our scent be? We should have a candle that's just entitled Enrique. And it's just a candle.
It would be chicken nuggets and a musk.
That reeks of chicken nuggets and despair.
Cheetos.
We could sell that in the shop. And with us, we have a special guest today.
Two special guests.
Well, one of them special. The other one just happened to be
one is also there.
One of them, we'll let you determine who is special and who is not. Because we have started...
See, this is why Enrique is his favorite. He doesn't insult...
Enrique's everybody's favorite. We have Denva with us, who, man, last week I had read everything, and for some reason I thought Denva was going to be on the show last week, and so I had read all of her stuff, and I knew how to introduce her properly. So if I say anything wrong, Denva, feel free to correct me. Denva is a professor of art. Yes, that's right.
Art history.
Art history.
Yes.
In the Trecento era art? Trecento?
That means 300 in Italian.
You're looking that up. Thank you. That sounds like
I'm fluent in Olive Garden.
So Denva is an art history professor who not only teaches Trecento. What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Sargento.
You are really struggling.
That's the cheese and the nuts and the cracker things.
Yes.
The protein packs are Sargentos. That's what I was thinking about. Okay, gotcha. So Denva's really important. Harvard educated.
Denva also enjoys Sargento.
And that's Joe. And Joe fixes light bulbs. Her husband. Joe is in charge. He's our lighting expert for the podcast. So if you wonder, so there you go.
Is your last name Gallant or Gallant? Gallant. Okay. I had 2 shots and I got both of them wrong.
I've had 2 shots already myself.
And also doctor. Now, is that only in the professional field that you go by Dr. Denva, or should we refer to you as Dr. Denva?
Dr. Denva. No, well, yes. I mean, I don't like make people on the street call me like Dr. Gallant. I'm not like, so.
When you're at Starbucks, you don't require Denva. No, excuse me. It is Dr. Denva.
However, I should tell you something really funny. So in Germany, Joe can take the doctor. So he would be Herr Dr. Gallant.
Oh.
He would be a doctor of electricity.
Yeah, you marry into the honorifics.
Yeah.
Nice.
And honorifics are really important.
How do you feel about people who aren't doctors using that honorific, such as Dre? What has he done?
I feel like he has a doctorate in rap.
In beats. I mean, he is like beat literate, you know? And so I respect that. I respect this honorific. Like, would I say that I would confer a doctorate upon him? probably not, you know?
Eminem did say he brought him back to life. So that's what doctors do.
That's true. You are drinking as well as I am also imbibing in some form of alcoholic beverage. I couldn't help but notice that your bottle also has a wrapper on it, not just a wrapper, but
Not just the nutritional facts, but also a musical wrapper. I see Snoop Dogg shrouded in a cloak.
So why does Snoop Dogg make wine? Why would you buy a Snoop Dogg wine?
Okay, so let's be honest here. This is a money grab for Snoop, right? Like Snoop has his hands in everything. I was at the store and a woman came up to me and she was like, if you want a rosé, you should really do the Snoop Dogg rosé. And I was like, She's like, it's really good. So, you know, I always take the recommendations of precocious small women in liquor stores.
In South Carolina.
I just imagine this 78-year-old little woman coming up with her blue hair. You should really try the Snoop Dogg wine. It's the fazzizzle.
Also, I have to say this because I know you guys are fans of Australia. It's a 19 Crimes brand.
19 Crimes. I was thinking of only 2.
It's funny because Snoop Dogg's never been convicted of a crime. He's not a felon.
19
Unlike Martha
accusations.
Stewart.
19 accusations. 19 alleged crimes. Yes.
19 alleged crimes.
So, Denva, we mentioned the Trecento period. Is that a period? What is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why are you asking
Gaby,
me? I'm sorry.
Wait.
I'm answering the questions, Gaby. For some reason,
Jerry,
I'm sorry.
I love this about Jerry. Jerry will answer a question.
He will answer a question quick as anything and be completely ignorant. But he says it with such confidence. That's the key.
All that matters.
That's the key. It says, okay, now this is interesting. Whenever you can Google a person and they pop up, that means you're somebody. That means you're somebody.
You make me very self-conscious now.
According to arthistory.udel.edu, Denva, you studied with an emphasis on manuscript illumination and the figural arts.
Yeah.
Is that why you married Joe, to help him illuminate your manuscripts with electricity and all?
Absolutely.
He's hooking up LED lights to all her books. That's what that means.
It was a marriage of convenience.
Listen, I won't allow any of these lights that are installed in our new house to be under CRI 90. The color rendering index needs to be higher than that.
So what is figural arts? Is that like sculptures?
No, it just means that there are actual figures in it. So, you know, bodies and things of that nature. Yeah.
Nudity.
Well, yes, there's often,
Yeah, let's be serious. There's like demons doing terrible things to people.
There are demons doing terrible things.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Demons doing terrible things. What piece of art is this?
This was basically Charmed.
Well, Charmed is just, they're just hacks at Charmed. I mean, let's be honest here. Tell the truth and shame the devil. Right? Am I
Terrible.
right?
Terrible show. Terrible
It's a
show.
terrible show. But no, so I look at manuscripts and they're often demons fornicating with women in them. So it's quite interesting to have them in purportedly Christian manuscripts where we might think monks might look at them. So, you know, it's kind of pornographic. So on your show, which is probably rated PG. Sure.
That was in the back of the monastery behind the curtain. You had to go in there, show your ID. Check it out.
That's where that curtain came from, that curtain idea. Where you have to.
So, you got the demon one in? Yeah.
Brother,
Yeah, it's in the back.
Brother Harold has been behind the curtain all evening.
You guys joke about this, but there are these records of indulgences and you know, monks having to talk about their dreams to their confessors.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It gets real explicit. Let's just say.
This is your class is sounding lit already. If this is we need to, I think we've got but there's a bunch of people right now going, boy, art history. I thought this was kind of lame. This is sounding pretty good. We need to.
So you are a teacher?
Yeah.
I mean,
so-
professor?
Yeah. I teach.
Okay.
Yeah, and I write and I
So your Monday through Friday 8 to 5 job is what?
Depends on the time of year.
Yeah.
So during the summer when you would think that a professor has all this time off, she's writing a book because she needs to get tenure. You need to publish.
You're writing a book about what?
Well, some of these demons. I'm writing it on a 14th century. So the Trecento is the 14th century. So I am writing about this illuminated manuscript. Sidebar. I think you guys love the Marco Polo game, but the Marco Polo is venturing during the 14th century. So we have manuscripts, illuminated manuscripts of Marco Polo's voyages, which is pretty kind of fascinating and cool because
and an HBO special.
Oh, there is an HBO special?
Isn't there a Marco Polo show? I'm pretty sure.
It might be. Is it HBO or Stars?
No, I think there was a Marco Polo show, but I don't remember where it was.
We'll have to look into that. If not, let's just pitch it.
Sounds good.
And so your book is now. When you say illuminated manuscripts,
illustrated. It's a fancy
illustrated.
word for illustrated. Yeah.
All right.
Lots of stuff in the margins. I looked it up.
Well, it's like a lot of text and then like a picture.
Yeah.
I have never done more research for a podcast than this one, so as to not sound like a complete and just a dullard, bellend, whatever you want to do. Because I was,
no.
And I asked my wife. I said, because I'm like looking stuff up, so I'm like looking this up, and on this thing it says you're a specialist in European medieval art. So first I had to look up manuscript illumination. Then I'm looking up exemplum virtuitus. Then I'm looking up like everything. I'm looking up every word I read on your biography here. And I was like, where do you even start? How does one even start into this field?
I started down the same path, but at some point in time, I just kind of I started watching Raiders of the Lost Ark. It got deep there for a minute, and then it was like there's too many. I have questions though, but back to your book. Before we derail you. So your book is about illuminated manuscripts in that century.
Yep. Well, one in particular, but yes.
And it's at what museum in the?
It's in New York, and it's at the Morgan Pierpoint Library, a fancy one in New York.
So we can go there and look at this. And why write about one particular manuscript?
Oh gosh! Wow, this sounds like my job interview. Okay. In 30 seconds or less. Why one manuscript? Well, okay. So in academia, it's really good to write about things that are novel. No one's written about this, and it's extensively illuminated or illustrated. It has 272 illustrations in it. And it was probably owned by a king. So, I just want to introduce the larger academic community to it. I think it's very important. And I have a lot of fun with it. It's my baby. It's now my baby. Like I feel very close to it as an object.
So it's a pop-up book, right? Like it has it, like you open it and out comes these various. It's. So do we know who wrote this book?
No. So that's what's really confounding about the Middle Ages. When you get to the Renaissance, people like to sign things. In the Middle Ages, it's not really like that. So we don't know. There's an image of what we think of as a king in it. But it doesn't have any, this belonged to Jerry. See you later.
I have a conspiracy theory about historical artifacts.
Why?
I have this conspiracy theory, and this is what gets me.
If you're in Oklahoma, you have to have conspiracy theories.
Yeah, well, they hand them out. So,
he does live in the marijuana portion.
That's
right.
Where all the great ideas come from. Yes, you're all a little paranoid. Very laid back, yet paranoid. We find these artifacts and we go, this is amazing example of whatever this is.
Okay.
Deep down, I wonder, like perhaps that might have just been something that's rather mediocre and we haven't found all the really impressive stuff. Like, for instance, like if they lost, like, all right, hundreds of years from now, they go down into the cloud that is the internet and they try to recover our podcast. And the only bits of our podcast that they can recover is Enrique's voice. Like for some reason, it's just bits and pieces of Enrique talking. And then in the future, they're like, this is a prime example of a millennial podcast regarding these analog games. And this person, Enrique, was the foremost podcaster of that time. And me and Gaby are lost to time. And that's what I worry about. And that's why I think that I worry about that perhaps there's good stuff out there, and we're just looking at the stuff that survived, the Enriques of the world history.
First, how dare you? He's a national treasure. First off.
I feel like if I hadn't petitioned, Enrique wouldn't have become the third wheel of your podcast.
Yes.
It's your fault.
Second, so we have like inventory records about how much things cost, because they did have the like people who were your accountants, things like that, who wrote down costs. So we know that these were luxury items. So we're not, just having the dredges. But
I was going to say, Denva does also look through what you would refer to as the Enrique of the past, with the ledgers and the sales and how much somebody may have paid for this.
Yeah.
Because people have detailed records of where their money went.
I want to see the Enrique artists of that century. Like, I want to see where are they, because we always focus on these are the pinnacle. So this the 14th century, which is Giotto, is that who we're talking about?
Yeah. Giotto.
Okay.
Giotto. Yeah, well done.
So he is he's several hundred years in the 16th century. Michelangelo and Leonardo, they're in the 16th. Okay, all the other Ninja Turtles are in that century.
Yeah, they go there further up.
So this is pre not Renaissance. What's that era? Okay, pre-Renaissance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pre-Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, this is pre-Ninja Turtles. So there's got to be the mediocre artists.
Of course.
For every Dr. Dre, there is a Little John. I want to see.
What? Hold up.
Let me insulting Little John like that.
No, I'm just saying. Well, there's varying artists of the time period, and so there's got to be one guy who has these beautiful representations of whatever his artwork is, and then there's obviously the guy who's the hack. Where are the hacks?
The rapper.
Who?
Snow the rapper.
Okay, I want to see the hacks.
Well, so we do have
Informa.
Exactly. Thank you.
One good one.
He said,
and that one good one is pretty terrible.
And he said some problematic things too, but we won't go down that road. So yes, we do have what you might call your hacks. But you know what? You could actually go to an auction and get that work. You could go to Philadelphia right now, sit in an auction and bid on a 14th century work, which would be what we would call from like follower of. So anytime in art history where we don't know the provenance or we don't know an artist, back in the 19th century, they would go follower of Giotto, follower of blah, blah, blah. And that would just mean they, in the style of. So I know you want to see those people, and I applaud you for wanting to see those people. And I think you can own one of their works of art, You too can have a hack.
Just to I'm Gaby, I'm stepping all over your banter. I'm sure you've got some hot banter.
I didn't really know how we were going to do it, but I would rather learn.
Okay. So okay, good, because I finished off my rum and I'm on a roll. But go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, unfortunately, Denva's going to come on, art historian. Okay. So before I knew that you kind of specialized in certain centuries or whatever, I started looking up art historians, and I kind of noticed that most famous art historians, Pliny the Elder, Johann Winkelmann, John Ruskin, Kenneth Clark, bunch of men. I was like, where are the women art historians? So then I run upon Linda Nochlin.
Oh, yes. She wrote a wonderful essay. Why aren't there any female female artists?
Yes, I saw that. And so I was going to do the thing where I say, well, I was more interested in Géricault and Goya, and there are two very different approaches to the theme of economic misery in the post-industrial revolution. But, if we're going to go medieval, I guess we can go that route. That's my homework. That's my homework for the show.
You did a Google search.
I listened to a podcast with Linda Nochlin on it just to find out some stuff. That's how deep I went.
Linda Nochlin is revered in our field, but also like is going to be far more modern.
Yeah, that's what I discovered.
I'm going to dip my toe in, right?
Yeah.
Like, so,
Kelly Jones.
And oddly enough, I think I've met more female art historians than male art historians, but I know I have a very limited bubble.
Well, I was wondering, since women throughout history have been oppressed, is that just something that in the recent times there's been more women art historians?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is becoming far more female dominated, but I think there are a lot of reasons perhaps why. I think that more men are being encouraged to go into more STEM related fields. Art history, I hate to say, it isn't like hiring. It's, so it tends to be far more female dominated at this point. But when you look at per se, okay, I'm going to get really technical here, but if you think about who the directors of museums are currently, then it is going to look more male, right? So people at the higher echelons of the field or in different parts of the field, it will look still very male driven.
I would say even more so. What about the fact that you're a Black female?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I'm a unicorn from the U.S. I am an absolute unicorn.
I was looking up and I found this Kelly Jones. I couldn't really find any others.
Yeah. So Andrea Achi, who's at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, she is a woman, an African-American woman. And I don't know if I should say this, but like me and one other Black woman got on Zoom and we're like, this is it.
That's it. This is the crew.
No. Yeah. It was Thelma because we were looking at pre-moderns like 1400.
Yeah,
so,
Leslie's
like, yeah, she's far more recent stuff. So I think one of the biggest, I don't know if anybody wants to hear this, but I think one of the biggest boundaries to getting into our field is languages. So I studied Latin in high school. So in order to be a proficient medievalist, you need to know your languages. So I read Latin, Italian.
Won competitions back in the day.
I won competitions, but so and it's really interesting because some people, one of the women who is a medievalist who is also African American, got into medieval art because she has a hearing deficiency. And so it was the only language she could study, really. She couldn't really become proficient in any of the spoken languages because she couldn't hear very well. So, it's interesting that Latin is important. I read Latin in my manuscript very often.
We interviewed Liz Davidson. You ever watch any of her stuff? She does that Beyond Solitaire. She's a board game YouTuber, and she's a Latin teacher.
Oh, wow. I loved my Latin teacher. She was absolutely fantastic. It was like such an honor to like just be in her class.
It's got, I mean, you'd have to do it for art historian, I suppose, but to me, it would be so difficult. I'm learning a language that I will never use except in this very specific field.
Or unless you're a Catholic priest.
Or, I mean, a lot of like medical terminology is either Greek or Latin. So a lot of it's Greek, a lot of it's Latin. So like, I mean, I'm sure Jerry could sit here.
Jerry, you know any Latin, Jerry?
Most of the medical field, I mean, all the terminology is derived from Latin. And I mean, we use it all. Latin is used all the time. You use Latin phrases or terms, you just don't realize it's Latin. And so when it's interesting and I know everyone calls it a dead language, but whenever I can't learn languages. You also speak Italian, do you not, Denva?
Yep.
Okay. And so I've often been told like Spanish, Italian, there's certain languages, like once you learn one, it's much easier to learn the other. And I've often heard that like once you understand Latin, there's a lot of different phrases or things that kind of all come together when you're looking at where terms come from or where words come from. And so it's not a useless thing by any means. It's not a conversational language that you're probably going to sit around and meet somebody else that speaks Latin and then go at it. It's not like on, it's not going to be Val Kilmer in Tombstone and they're yelling Latin insults at each other at the saloon, type thing. It's useful in whatever history or whatever type of endeavor that you're at. What got you into art history? What made you pursue that as a career?
So I wasn't supposed to. I got to my undergraduate, which is Sweetbriar, and my parents were very happy that I was going to become a lawyer. But there was no like pre-law kind of situation. So usually what people did was do government or international affairs. And oh my gosh, I hope this professor doesn't listen to this, but I got into his class and was just like bored to tears. And then I went to an elective course, which was my art history course. And, you know, I loved it. And that professor happened to be a medievalist. And so we got on like a house on fire and I just kept going. I did have some detours though. I didn't just like pursue this and continued. I did think it was like a waste of my time. So I like tried to get another, you know, be in another profession.
So why this particular period though of time in terms of art? What brings you to this specific period?
Well, I mean, so I love the macabre. Like I really love the Middle Ages is really about death, about blood, about mysticism. And I'm really into that. I'm not really into pretty art. So you know, I love German expressionism where they like show a like fetid carcass, right? I'm into like raw.
She was really drawn to the Inquisition. It's very strange. Very strange.
Nobody suspects it.
So Denver's Facebook page for a very long time, and it might still, has a snippet from the illuminated manuscript that you study, and it's like a demon going after a guy's crotch, and there's something going on there.
Yeah.
No
So
kids for you.
Yeah.
It's not very. I mean, you can get away with putting it on Facebook because limited, drawing.
This is art
back then.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but just the way they depict it.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not into it. So there's a moment where I have like a really shiny, bright-eyed 18-year-old young lady who comes to my class and she loves Impressionism. And she's just like, I want flowers and lily pads. And then I show her like a completely flayed, bloodied Christ. And she like runs away. And that's like the pinnacle of my day. Like shock and appall the youth. It's just kind of my thing. And I'm interested in how those images work for people who were purportedly extremely devout and extremely Christian. How do these images of pornographic images, but also extremely bloodied images, how do they function? So yeah, that's what kind of got me into it. My thesis, my undergraduate thesis was on mysticism.
Well, I can't knock the macabre because I am quite dark myself.
I was wondering if you said, is the medieval times and all that stuff, not the restaurant, has got to be very influential in like the fantasy genre, right? Is that where that come from? Because it's all swords and sorcery and all that stuff.
Well, Tolkien was a professor of I think his specialty was Beowulf, which is medieval. And so when he is creating all of these worlds, he's drawing from this like mythical medieval past, right? That's what he's drawing from when he's at Oxford, I believe. So yes, a lot of fantasy is built upon medieval lore, or our modern conception of what medieval lore looked like.
I would like to just interrupt for 1 second, and you guys will have to choose Gaby or Jerry. I want one of you to describe this image that I'm going to show you or try to show you.
That appears to be a horse, which is it appears to be
eating the crotch.
Perhaps it's in the crotchal area.
A bloody king. The crotch is bloody, and then there's a dude with like, he's got a staff of some sort. His head's glowing. So I'm saying it's an angel.
A saint.
Yes. That's going to be, that is Saint Equine, the patron of horses. And he has come and has sicked his horse on somebody, his crotchal attack horse, apparently. I don't know. That is a weird.
Sick him, boy. Sick him.
And this is why somebody needs to study this.
Yeah.
Well, I
and
mean,
decipher the Latin above it.
There's got to be.
Okay, well, can we get it explained to us?
Well, so this is a story about, this is going to be hard. No. It's only hard because this is a story about a king who believes he has all the power, but the holy man, which is a person with the halo, actually can foretold this happening, right? Mm-hmm. So in the Middle Ages, we're always talking about hierarchies of power. We're always constantly talking about that, even now, right? Who has the power? And so in these stories, often it's not the king that ultimately has the power. It's the holy man because he's connected to God. And so, this guy is having his genitals like pretty much ripped off by a horse. And the saint is pretty much like, I told you so. This was going to happen. So yeah. But it's one of my favorite images because the Middle Ages were all about I don't know if you guys know about the penis tree.
No, I do not.
Look it up on your own time.
The penis tree. I got to write that down.
The giving tree?
I mean, the penis tree does give.
Oh,
but it is not of that nature. No, so there's this image of a nun and there's all of these phalluses that on her tree and she's picking them.
As one would.
As one would.
Would.
But yeah.
As a nun would.
As a nun would. So it's so interesting, people think the Middle Ages is tame, but it is not. It's the exact opposite.
I'm surprised there's no bush around the tree.
Hey. It would be burning. I was waiting for this punny banter. I was waiting.
Oh no, he's just giving you a hard time. Yes, it was. There's something about not just in history, but I guess it's looking back and trying to figure out what was going on now, what was taking place at this time that made this be either entertainment or expression, or why was this thing so? And even now, when we look at our music and movies and things, it's likely that years from now, someone's going to look back and go, this is what people were watching. This was the artwork. This was the music and what was going on at that time. And you lose some meaning. I mean, obviously there is some pop cultural references that will be lost in time that we just won't, people in the future just simply won't understand. And I often wonder, are we looking at depictions of some sort of pop culture reference back in the 14th century, and it is actually serious, but we're thinking it's comical, or vice versa, or do we truly understand the meaning behind it? And I think that it, as a whole, is just fascinating to see just some of this, just some of the artworort. And like I said, this
like some of their manuscripts is basically like they're Justin Bieber's tweets or something. And you're like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And just Little John.
Yeah.
It's just Little John.
Shouts of exclamation and, getting people pumped up.
This manuscript was really affirmative. Okay. Just all the way down it.
It's hard. To your point, I think it's always going to be hard. Like things are going to be, we've lost so much, right? And we have to make certain kind of assumptions and read and I think the further we get a distance from material, the more we have to say, we think this is what happened. We think this is what it would look like. I mean, for instance, a lot of the sculptures from antiquity are white, right? So if you're looking at Nike, that's in the Louvre, that I don't know if you looked at
Jordan shoes?
Yes, the shoes.
The shoes are in the Louvre.
But in fact, we think that they would have been garishly colored. Like there's ideas that they wouldn't have been as like pristinely white. We just lost the color over time.
Yeah, they didn't have sunblock back then.
Didn't have any sunblock. All the color's gone. So So that's to your point, Jerry. Yes.
So in board gaming, because this is a board game podcast, if anybody wants to send us an email.
Segway City.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, there is and I flip flop on this all the time because I've recently started this project of like trying to do my top 5 favorite artists in board gaming.
Oh.
And something occurred. I played a game the other day with my kids, and we ended up playing Kanigawa, which is a Bruno Cathala game about painting. And you lay these cards out and it formulates this little canvas. And my son just fell in love with this game. And it's not an exciting game. It's pick a card and either place it as a part of your canvas or put it in your studio upside down. And now you can paint more of a different type of painting. He just loved it. And afterwards he demanded to play it again and harasses me to play it all the time. And I asked him, why do you like this? And he just keeps bringing up when it's over, look at my beautiful painting. Like, look how nice this is. And it's interesting that that's like the accomplishment, isn't it? Well, no, and no matter what you do in the game, you always end up with this beautiful canvas that's painted with this various objects and so forth, because of all the cards mismatched together. And it's the idea that can art really bring out the artwork in the game. I know that it can add to the theme of the game, but really, and I go back and forth because I play literally some very ugly games, and there are some very beautiful games that I do not particularly like, but I can look at the artwork and appreciate it. And I kind of flip flop back and forth in my feelings about some of these older Euro games that have that very medieval artwork. Hansa Teutonica comes to mind because it has that very 15th, 16th century feel. If you've seen that game of that era, that type of painting. Are there any examples that you can think of off the top of your head that are good representations of medieval art in board games?
Oh, geez. No, not off the top of my head. I'm going to be completely honest. But I do think okay, so I want to step back here for a second. I'm going to redirect this question/comment. I think what your son is really doing is being really excited about the creative process and accomplishing and creating things. I think what's really beautiful about this podcast, and I was thinking about this when I was driving today, is that what you guys do is something we all do in education, is that we ask students to kind of think through the process. Like, why was this useful? Why was it helpful? What did you like? Why did you like it? And so I think the difference between you and your son is I feel like you're an analytical person who takes a real joy in kind of thinking through a process, breaking things down, really kind of analyzing something. And his is more of a generative process of creation. And I can understand that. And I'm more like you, Jerry, in the sense that as a part of my education at Harvard, I had to take an art class where I had to do my own etching, because a part of it is understanding how effing hard it is to make art, right? So they would give us the tools that they would have used to make etchings, and etchings are further along than my period, but that's what they had the money for. And I'm a horrible artist, but so I think I'm more of an analytical person. I can't, my aunt was an artist. I try to make things. I'm not very good at it, but I am really intrigued by thinking, how does this work? How does it function? What kind of effect does it have? To use the language that you use on this podcast, what's the mechanic that I enjoy about this? And why does it function and why doesn't it?
How does it make you feel?
How does it make you feel?
And I think that's true, because and Gaby makes fun of me because about every couple of months I bring up the same conversation over and over, where I try to take something that is a feeling or something that is subjective, and I try to make it an objective thing. I often bring up to him about things that he will say, that's funny. And I'll go, why is that funny? Explain to me why this thing.
Jerry's ongoing thing, his ongoing work, his thesis someday will be on what makes something funny. And he is just obsessed with finding out what makes something funny. And he wants 2 + 2 to = 4 on why is something funny.
Yeah, 1 + 1 = 3 when it comes to funny.
Yeah, and that's what gets me. And it's like these. So like with art, and I've often, I think one of the gateways into appreciating art is that most people do not have the words to describe or really be able to analyze what they're looking at and say, other than just looking and saying, boy, I like this. And I realized
that's
that
what
myself.
I do.
I realized that myself when I got into painting miniatures. And I've watched all these videos, and I don't like the paint, but I thoroughly enjoy it. And at some point in time, I got to looking at other people's figurines and going, why do theirs look better than mine? Like, what is the deal? I'm doing the same steps. What's going on? And finally, after like researching it and having actual people break it down about contrast and color palettes and 3D objects and how the light should land, and you go down this path of like, at the same time, I'm trying to look at something from an objective point and say, this is what makes the paint job on a miniature look good. But sometimes that's just not, that's hard to grasp. There are some fundamental things that you do that add luster to it that, of course, makes it more appealing.
Well, I would think it's got to do with, I mean, there's technically, a robot could draw something perfectly or make a piece of art, but are you going to get, that you go from the technical standpoint to the human, or emotional standpoint of stuff?
Yeah,
that's true. And I think that's something that I've labored over, just in terms of what little artistic endeavors I have done, is like, how do I express, because people will post that on these various Facebook groups in a minute with painting of miniatures. They'll say, what do I need to do here? And they're asking for technical help.
And you're like, you need to stop painting miniatures. It's just not your thing, man.
Yeah.
Just give it up.
Yeah.
Become a mechanic or something. Mop a floor every now and then.
Whoa. Gary's on Facebook. You can't be negative on Facebook. You know what happens when you're negative on Facebook?
You will get jumped on.
I know. Have you tried D&D? Painting miniatures is not your thing.
I have a question. When you're done with this.
Okay, but I'm just lamenting. I am lamenting, and the point that I'm getting across is that when you look at an art, any type of painting,
when you look at an art, that's how we say things.
When you look at an art, you say, "That's good."
I reckon that's good.
French fried taters.
French fried taters.
Don't get me going on Billy Bob Thornton. I have some deep thoughts on Billy Bob Thornton just now.
I love this.
Whoa. Bad Santa was great.
Well, I just realized something the other day, because I have got Gaby likes crappy movies.
No, how dare you? See, this is where you're not.
No. I'm coming to appreciate these movies for what they are, and I'm about to. I haven't told Gaby this, but I'm about to watch, what's the Fast and the Furious? The Fast Five? Now, I've been told by
I want to watch all of the Fast and the Furious. I'm so behind, and it's so sad.
I have feelings about this. But wait, hold on. No. Wait, I'm going to answer your question, Jerry, and then we're going to get to Fast and Furious.
Okay.
Because I feel like we need to devolve. Okay, so quick thing. I'm not interested. I'm not going to say hate. I'm not interested in what makes this good, right? I had a professor who was like, he was German. He was like, how has this artist failed? He was like very intense about it. So I'm interested in the question of, not necessarily what makes this good, but how does this function? How is it successful, right? So, and success for me is about context. If I'm thinking about an image or a work of art in a religious context, then I want to understand how does it connect to its viewer. If I'm thinking about an image or an art object just aesthetically, then success might mean technicalities, right? So a great example of this is to go back to Impressionism or to think about Pointillism, which Seurat did, which is all those tiny dots, which people were like, this is horrible. Like when it first came out, they were like, this is the worst. But, I'm thinking, what is this artist trying to achieve here? How do they achieve it? And how does that make an impression? So how is this a success? And success changes in terms of context for me. So I mean, a lot of people come into my class and they're like, that's an ugly Madonna. That's a flat person. That person doesn't understand three-dimensionality. But what I know about it is that because they thought that icons were so close to God, if it looked too perfect, then it would be almost a personification of that God. So we're not looking for three-dimensionality. We're not looking for mimetic reality, those things that we as modern people idolize. And so that question of does it look perfect? Does it look good? When students come into my class, we like take that off the table. And if they can't take it off the table, then they go to the 19th century class, and I'm okay with that.
And it's not, and I think that I have struggled with that concept. And I have 2 points with that. I've struggled with that concept in board gaming because I often think of board gaming as being an artistic form. And it really, I would never say this out loud, but I'll say it now that I'm being recorded. It genuinely upsets me. I've got enough in me right now to say this. It genuinely upsets me when people say they like a game that I don't like. I am one of those people. It upsets me when I go, why do you like this game? It's horrible. And they rave about it and I go, it's trash. And I wonder to myself, how could that be so? Like, how could you say this blasphemous thing that this is good? It's not.
Jerry, because you think your opinion is more objective than theirs.
That might be it. Or it could just be some sort of psychological thing in the back of my mind, or it could be that I'm just a jerk.
All the above. All the above.
The thing that gets me, though, is that occasionally I have to remind myself, just as with any type of entertainment or art, it can mean something else to somebody else, and it can truly be a different experience to them than what I am perceiving. I don't want to call out the game because me and Gaby have just recently played a game that I had no interest in. I kickstarted it for just out of randomness. The artwork is poor in it. It has mechanics that I do not like. And I read through the rule book, and there was nothing special about this game. This was a very mediocre game. We played it, and I absolutely loved it.
Wow.
And it shook me.
Everything about it said mediocre until we played it.
This was a game that, as we're playing it, I just remember driving home from Gaby's going, why was that so enjoyable? What none of these mechanics I like.
That's the thing with me and Jerry. Jerry drives home thinking about why he doesn't like stuff. Whereas we could not be more different. We are I'm the yin to his yang. I'm just like we said previously. I'm like, I enjoyed this. I'm more emotional based. I'm just like, I enjoyed this. It was a good time. Liked it. Had fun. From there on, I do not think about that game. It's probably, I've done forgot about it. Whereas Jerry's trying to figure out, okay, now why did I like this game? And I wish I was more like that, because when it comes time to podcasts, I'm like, I liked it. And Jerry's like more of the Roger Ebert of the show, where he can like nail things down to what he liked or didn't like. And I'm like, I felt good playing it. That's me.
So I got a question for Jerry real quick. Do you think that the guy that designed the Campbell soup label should be more famous than Andy Warhol?
So
that's a weird question.
That's a good question. That's a really philosophical question there. But it's kind of like, no. And here's why. I think that particular picture of that Campbell soup can, which is, I don't want to knock Campbell soup because they're a huge employer around here.
Wow.
Campbell Soup is the premier employer of Paris, Texas.
Yeah, they're the only employer of Paris, Texas. I think that just as if a photographer will take a picture of something, or you'll the way we perceive things and our position at that time, our mindset affects how we internalize that image. So like, I have seen Campbell's soup cans a million times. I cannot count. I have literally in my office at work, I have 3 crates of chicken noodle soup from Campbell's. Why? Because I have a coworker whose husband works for the Campbell's soup. I can buy them dirt cheap. I buy them by the crate. I stack them in my office and I give them away
for the
when people
apocalypse.
need soup. I'm stacked for the apocalypse. So old people, when they need soup, they're sick. Everybody knows Jerry's a chicken soup guy.
Is there any medical validity to chicken noodle soup helping you feel better?
Yeah, there's something with the chicken. I can't remember what it is.
There is some scientific background because I looked it up as a scholar. I was like, what's this thing?
It's like fatty and nutrient rich.
Yeah.
And just, and it hydrates you at the same time.
Yeah.
I personally don't like soup.
I don't either. I think it's weak stew. Weak stew.
I'm okay with a good stew. I like chili. Soup doesn't do it for me.
I have one thing. Okay, I want to go back to one thing before we transition into something else. Gaby, you were saying how you're far more emotional, but I think that's something that's really great about this podcast. So to tell our origin story with this podcast, Joe was like, we should listen to something as we're moving down from Waltham to Delaware. And he was like, it should be a board game podcast. And so he puts on these board game podcasts and they're super freaking dry, right? They're like, oh, trash.
And then you know what? I found you guys.
And then
episode 10. I think it was episode 10.
No. It wasn't. I don't think it was, actually.
We were before 20.
So we were before 20. But I have to say my favorite line, and I think I wrote this to you in an email, was like, you said, I'm inarticulate with my hate. And I was like, I love this guy. I love this guy because, sometimes I'll sit down and I'll play a game with Joe because Joe's like, we're going to play a game because it's going to bring us together. Spoiler alert, it almost ended our marriage at one point.
It's going to bring us together and you're going to love it.
Travel together ever again. Road to El Dorado was like pulling teeth to get her to play it. I love that game. No, Quest to El Dorado.
Let me tell you something.
The movie.
I have to tell you two things because I'm going to get my 2 cents in here. Joe did something in Quest for El Dorado that is unforgivable. I don't play to win. I play for enjoyment. Oh. Joe just was so like this.
Have you guys ever played that game?
Yes.
Okay. So you got all the tiles, you build them together. So we go to the first thing. And the first thing is this little quick path. And you have to go through the mountains. And there's one tile. So I get my little meeple and I'm like, oh, I can put him right there. Perfect. Great. I can block this. That means I got 3 rounds of building up my deck. This was apparently an unforgivable offense.
I have a theory.
I always thought you play to win the game.
You play to win. You play to win.
You don't just play the game, you just play it.
There are different, that's what makes board gaming fascinating is I'm one of those, I play to win, but I'm also just in it because I enjoy playing the game. I'm not sitting there thinking and that's why Jerry usually wins, because I'm not thinking super hard about all my moves and their potential moves. I'm just a in the moment guy. I will never. Your story about that reminds me. I had introduced a Ticket to Ride in Alhambra to my sister-in-law.
Oh, nice.
And she was, she's got these killer instincts when it comes to playing. She would just destroyed me at every game I showed her. So we're playing Ticket to Ride, introductory.
Another one Denva doesn't want to play.
Introductory family game.
Family.
And we're
family.
I know. So my family that day was playing it. And I blocked her. She needed this, the single caboose, up there in Washington or something. I blocked her. She cussed me out, and I will never forget. She's like, "You don't have to be such a ASS." And I was like, and everyone around the table was like, and then she was like, Oh, I'm sorry. We were like, and I was just like, I thought we were just playing the game, and that's, I don't want you to score because that's clearly where you were going. I just thought I'd block you. And boy, she reacted, and later on we laughed and laughed, but it was pretty tense there in the moment because I blocked that one caboose of hers, and I never let her live that down because that was the first time I had heard her cuss, and she cussed at me and called me a donkey, basically.
I think, and I before I forget, because I wanted to touch on that game that me and Gaby both played, and it was one that I was trying to break down in my head. I finally came to the conclusion that it subverted my expectations. And there is this psychological thing, and I can't remember what it's called, where if somebody tells you, man, this is great, this is awesome, this is awesome, this is awesome, and then you go experience this thing, it never lives up to the hype. Your mind like puts it up on a pedestal to where it just can't meet or exceed that expectation. But when you think something's just trash, when you just don't think that it's going to be any good, and then it turns out to be way above that, it blows you away because you just simply were not expecting that. It's just everybody has gone and seen a movie that you thought was trash.
I have feelings about this.
Yeah, well, I often point this show. I hate romantic comedies. Like there's only a few romantic comedies that I have seen that I just go, this not. I mean, I've watched just all the.
What is your two? Name two that you like.
No, I can name one that blew me away because I had absolutely. There's two actually. I'll name two. The first one was the one that the first time I watched it, it completely just laid me out. It has John Cusack, which John Cusack is kind of.
Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, he's got
national treasure. If you say otherwise,
John Cusack. Well, here's the thing with John Cusack. I love him in like Grosse Point Blank type stuff, where
which is pretty much a rom-com.
Yeah, which is a rom-com, and I don't even consider that a rom-com, but that's one of my favorite shows.
But you love it. It's a romantic comedy.
Well, it's not necessarily romantic. He kills a guy with a TV, and Dan Aykroyd's in it. Okay,
Tim and Minnie Driver.
But he was in a romantic comedy with Kate Beckinsale called Serendipity.
Okay,
I haven't seen that one.
Okay, so basically these two people meet.
Yeah,
love at first sight. Everything goes right, and then she believes in just if it's supposed to be, it will be. And they do this stupid thing where she says, "Let's both get on this elevator. You get on the other elevator. I'll get on the other one, and select the floor. And if we both select the same floor and we come out, then it was meant to be." And of course, things happen where people keep getting on his elevator and it slows him down and he doesn't arrive at the floor and she leaves and he never sees her again. And he goes about his business, and it's like many years later, he is about to get married and he starts wondering about her. And his friend, who is Jeremy Piven's, the guy off of what's that show?
Entourage.
Entourage.
Awesome. I love him.
Who has all the great lines in this show, like convinces him by saying, they used to, the Romans had obituaries, and the only thing they would ask about somebody when they die is, did they have passion? That's all they're going to worry about you. Do you have passion? Anyways, he gives all the great speeches. He convinces him to go find this woman before he gets married, to just to have closure. Unbeknownst to him, she and her friend convinces him of the same thing. And the whole show is them essentially missing each other by like an inch at various places in their life. And the whole show is not them interacting anymore. It's just them trying to find each other and work out their problems to get to the end. And it was such a great show because it was just stupid, for one, the premise of just let's let an elevator decide what we're going to do. But at the same time, it was just a great show. It was very romantic in how it was portrayed. I love that show. And I love the show that I cannot think of the name of it. It's my man, Dromhole Gleason. Yes, General Hux. He's a time traveler, and him and Amy Adams, if you know what I'm talking about, it is an amazing film. He is a young man who's very dorky. He's basically the Enrique of his family. He grows up and he's failure to launch. One day his father pulls him into his study and says, "Son, I think it's called Out of Time. About time, isn't it?"
Yeah.
And he says, "Son, all the men in our family can time travel, but you can only time travel within your lifespan. So basically, any day you want to relive, you can go back and relive it as long as you want." but you'll mess up anything in the future that you might do. He says, so just basically whatever you want to do, just go to a dark place, think about that time, and you'll show up there. And so he decides he's going to pursue this one girl that he's interested in, and he does it, and it doesn't work out. And he keeps going back and trying and trying and trying and trying, and it doesn't work out. And then finally he realizes, oh, this is just not meant to be. This is never going to work out no matter what I do. And so he just leaves it alone. And then again, he goes on with his life, and he meets this girl, and he falls in love with her. And then he spends his time basically reliving every little moment of each day, going back and reliving it to try to make it perfect with her. So things that he would say during the day that he would regret, he would just go back and relive that day. And he's like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have said that. Or, oh, I wish I would have done this. Or, oh, that was the wrong thing to say. So the whole show is very cute with him going back and being that person of, man, I wish I hadn't said that. He obsesses over it. And it's just a beautiful film because it shows, it touches on that point that we all have when you know you said something and, man, I wish I could take that back. And he does it.
I feel like you have like a real Jones for like time manipulation.
I do. I'm obsessed. If it has time travel in it, I lose my mind because there's something very fascinating to me about the idea of like just Groundhog Day and something like going back and going, if only, like, for instance, this is a dumb story, but I've almost died twice in the same spot.
What?
Yes. So I have this thing. There's a red light, a 4-way stop in our little town. It was the only 4-way stop in the entire county. The 5th largest county in Oklahoma, mind you, had one red light. Wrap your mind around that. That's how rural I live. And in this red light, because it's the only one in the county at the time, Oklahomans don't understand how to use it. Green means go, red means stop. So when this 4-way stop, when it turns red,
you don't have yellow?
No. The bulb went out. You might need to come down and replace it, Jeff. So sorry. Every time I went to this red light once, and it was years ago, light turns green. I drive, light turns green. I'm in my little pickup truck that's a standard, and I missed a gear, and my truck died. I never do that. I know how to drive a standard. I never miss a gear. My truck died. And so I'm angrily trying to get my gear started. And as I'm looking up, a log truck blows through the red light. And I realized if I had been in gear, he would have hit me. And I thought, boy, that was close. That was literally a 2-second gap there that would have cost me my life. A few years later, driving through, same scenario, light turns green. And I just happened, now I'm paranoid at this 4-way stop. I look both ways, and next thing I know, I see this idiot coming, and I think, he's not going to stop. I stayed on my brake, blows right through the red light. And I thought, this is the second time I've dodged death at this place. And so now every time I go to this 4-way stop, I think, this could have been it. This is it. This is the spot where, for some reason, the final destination thing is here for me. And I don't, but anyways, there's this interest. I have this interesting fascination about, and I guess it's also being very macabre and working in like the emergency medical field for a while, of seeing things go wrong. And it was just one thing that caused this thing to happen.
Like a freak accident, just something super freakish.
Absolutely freakish accidents that you go, man, that was unfortunate.
I will never forget a story I heard, and it may have been on like that 1,000 Weird Ways to Die or something. This dude was driving his car. There was, those big, they're like brush hogs, but they're like cutting the grass on the side of the road. This guy's just driving by one of those, and he's driving by this brush hog. At the same time, that brush hog happens to hit a random piece of rebar and throws it through this guy's truck cab window, and it goes into his head.
Oh, gosh.
And I was just like, what? How is that even possible? And I think, so now I'm super paranoid. Every time I pass one of those lawnmowers mowing the side of the road, I'm like ducking and making sure I don't get hit by a piece of rebar or a rock or something. It's just, there's always like these super freaky things that can happen.
But yet heart disease is what will come for you, my friend.
No, I don't care about that. Okay, well, I had a question. How did you and Denva meet?
So my friend who's now an official medical doctor.
Oh, a nutritional medical doctor?
Official.
Oh, okay.
Was dating Denva's roommate. And we met maybe a handful of times before I asked for her number.
I have more to the story.
And then New Year's Eve, one year, we were talking. She's deleting men's phone numbers out of her phone left and right. And I'm like, oh, why don't you, put my number in there and we can go get some coffee or get dinner sometime.
So listen, hold on. Let me interject here.
Not fully having it.
So
I'm sensing two different POVs here.
No. Most of what he's saying is right. Okay. I'm sitting there and I'm like deleting guys' numbers out of my phone. Joe comes up. We've had like run-ins in the past where we're like just heckling each other as one does. And he goes, you should put my number in your phone. I was like, why? And he was like, I don't know. Maybe we could like, he backpedaled a lot.
Listen, there was a lot of Prosecco involved in this night. Quite a bit of drinking on New Year's Eve. Me and my buddy Brett, we get going when we're together, and we were, drinking that night.
Yeah. So let's just say I got his number, and then the first thing, so I was a spin instructor. Well, it was when I was in grad school. So to make money, I had like 2 jobs. I was a spin instructor and I did admissions counseling. And so I wake up in the morning, I have to teach a class. So I go to bed early. And Joe asked me, who won your stationary bike race? And he thought he was real funny.
I think it is funny.
It's still classic.
I was like, okay, this kid. Because Joe's 5 years younger than me, I should say.
Oh, a cougar. There you go.
Yeah.
She's robbing the cradle.
And that's it?
No. I mean, that's like, that's like.
I took her to dinner. And,
okay.
That point forward. She told me I couldn't date her because I had beautiful blue eyes and I need to pass these on to the next generation, and genetics doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Joe was like, I think you might be a white supremacist.
Well, blue eyes are a genetic defect by definition. So, yeah.
I know. When it gets really bright in a room, it's terrible.
Well, I've told Jerry, though, I said, that National Geographic cover that's so famous where it's the girl and she's got those bright eyes but such dark skin. I said, that's just like the most beautiful combination, though.
Well, and then Jerry probably told you some scientific fact. I mean,
I'm sure. Yeah.
Let's not forget when my favorite run of this podcast was when it was just like, what do you call a group of crows? That was like, I was like, I'm so here for this content.
We've had so many iterations.
It's a murder of crows.
A murder of crows. I can't remember what happened, why that came about.
Also, Incubus album, A Crow Left of the Murder. Are we doing Bubba Top 5?
Because Denva had said it had been a while since y'all have been able to listen, so I didn't know if you had knew of the Bubba Top 5 or not.
But we spent the past week trying to get good at it. And by the way, I've been having so I get my new job title, get a lot more responsibility. I have been very stressed out at work lately. And the past week of listening to you all has been amazing. Great. Keep going. And I really wish Enrique was here because every time I hear his voice, it's just great. And then I love how it's always like, oh, wait, hang on. Turn Enrique's mic back on. Well, I heard an episode or 2 where he is a heavy breather, and I apologize for that. But Enrique really does add to your podcast, and I'm glad that I petitioned to make him your third wheel, and I'm glad I made that happen for you all.
Yes, that's what people don't know, that Joe is the one that caused Enrique to be a regular on our show.
Yep,
and so Joe,
I am the Joe G.
He petitioned back in the day for Enrique to be on the show. And Enrique has never listened to not one episode.
Doesn't know anything about it. Doesn't know anything about it now.
To the episode. He's just on it, lives it. That's it. Done. So he doesn't even listen to the episodes that he's not on.
Nope. He listens to none of them.
Enrique doesn't know what a podcast is.
He's like one of those artists, those movie actors where they say, "Do you watch your own shows?" "Oh, I don't watch them." He doesn't even listen.
I love that. I think it's like he is going to be a celebrity. He's going to come to one of those game board conventions and everyone's going like, Enrique.
We had that happen. We went to BGG and we met someone who's actually a board game designer who listens to the podcast. And he came up and he said something that almost devastated me. He shook Gaby's hand, talked about the podcast. He shook my hand and then paused and looked at me and he says, "You look so different than what I thought you would." Never elaborated on that. I have no clue what he meant by that. And then he turned, saw Enrique, who obviously it had to be Enrique. He was wearing his little fedora and no sleeves. Turns and vigorously shakes Enrique's hands and says, it is a pleasure to meet you. I cannot tell you what an honor it is to be." And I mean, like completely just laid it on thick. And Enrique just took it all. Like he had not, it could not have been like, he just knew that this is important. Like, yes, I'm glad you could have met me. Like, do you need me to sign something?
So the way you guys know Enrique is one of your former coworkers' son.
He is the son of a very dear friend of mine that I have known for a long time. His dad is Mag is his name.
The Magdalorian, Magdaleno Zamora.
Imagine the Mandalorian, and you have imagined yes, he is an older Mandalorian. Like Mag, I have to remind myself that Mag is in his 60s.
But
now.
even more noble and more nice would be Mag.
Mag he's an old school, just spews wisdom from everywhere. And he's like a father to me. And at some point in time, he mentioned, Enrique's his son. Enrique was like 13, 14 years old. And he says, "I wish I could get him off the video games." And I go, "Well, I can take him places and maybe I can get him out. Maybe we can find him something that he'll take interest in." And so that's where the board games came into play. And the whole thing was, I'm going to try to introduce Enrique to the world and to get him out and to peer pressure him. And it's been downhill ever since. It's just has gone, it's just been this thing of now Enrique, I take him places and wherever we go, it's like, I'm taking Enrique because he needs to experience this thing. And yeah, it's just that. And once you meet Enrique, he's just always there. Like you just like he's that perpetual, like I'll go places and I'll just be driving somewhere. And it's like, I'll pick Enrique up and take him with me to just have that person with you. And he'll just talk about anything.
He will talk. So like, I wasn't too familiar with Enrique. I had known Enrique from, I too knew his father, but Enrique was a small kid last I had knew of Enrique. But then Jerry brings him over and he's like, "I got Enrique." And I'm like, "Enrique?" And I really didn't know him, nothing. And so at first I was like, "I don't know about this Enrique character. I just don't know." Now I'm just like super fond of the boy. And we did our cabin con and Jerry had to go work right after we had spent 3 days together gaming. So I had to take Enrique home. And when we were playing games, and even on the podcast, Enrique's not very verbose, but he did not shut up from the time we left the cabin to the time I dropped him off at his house. That rascal talked nonstop. And that was new for me. I was like, "Jerry, Enrique does not shut up when it's just you and him." I was taken aback.
I have to tell the story about Enrique because this is a story that has never been told.
This is great.
So this was taking Enrique to BGG and at this board game convention at night after 10 o'clock. That's when the real games begin. The werewolf and 2 Rooms and a Boom, all these party games. There's nothing but social interaction. So I took Enrique down and we just went room to room with all these social interaction games, and Enrique was just killing it. He just thought this was the most fun he ever had. It's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're leaving to go back up to the hotel room, and we pass by this dark room that has like this techno light thing going on. And that's where we learned about a game called Johann Sebastian Joust. Google that. There's numerous YouTube videos, and what it is are these lightsaber type sticks that have these bulbs on them that are flashing different colors, and each player holds on to them. And in the background, they play Johann Sebastian Bach music or any type of classical music. And you are to dance and to move with the rhythm of the beat. And if you move outside the beat, your light on your little your lightsaber starts flashing.
It's like those little Sony PlayStation mover things they had back in the day.
And if you move too much out of beat, your light will ding and you're knocked out of the game. So the idea is all these people are dancing and moving in rhythm with the tempo of this music, but at the same time, you're trying to knock the other players out by physically touching them, but not knocking yourself out of rhythm. It is literally dance fighting. It is the most fun that you can have inebriated. And so we go down to this room, and all these people are playing this game, and you're just taking turns. And we played it and had the absolute most fun. The one person that was undefeated in all the matches was this young girl who apparently, from talking with her later, she had a history in ballet. She literally knocked my controller out of my hands with her foot and did not lose the tempo. So she was an amazing dancer, but at the same time, she could throw other people off. Enrique decided that he could knock her off tempo and knock her out of the game. So Enrique had over several rounds attempted to knock her out of the round and failed miserably each time, till finally, at one point, Enrique, who is very quiet, very reserved, never says anything of remotely he's just very internalized. He comes up to me and I said, "What are you doing? You're not going to be able to beat her." And he looks at me with all the seriousness, with sweat pouring off of his fedora and his face, and he's sleeveless, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And he says, "I am going to go out there. I'm going to defeat her, and then she will wed me and be my wife."
I thought this might be flirting. I really did.
And I looked and I said, "Enrique, do it. Do it." It did not happen. It did not happen. But either way, it was the first type of, it was just this weird experience of seeing Enrique actually out there with other people and being outside of his shell. And that was like 2015. That was like this thing of actually seeing him interact and be amongst other people and be outside of just this small group. And it was just a nice experience. But at the same time, it turned Enrique into the monster that he is now, because he slowly has become one of us.
He's been warped because he literally.
Enrique is not a monster.
People think I don't know. They might think that we're being exaggerating. Enrique literally just plays video games in his room all day, and he eats chicken nuggets. He might eat some sort of cheeseburger with no veggies or nothing on it. A cheese sandwich. He'll come play board games with us, and he goes to work for his father, and that's it. That's Enrique's life, and he loves it.
But he works.
He does. Yeah, he works with his dad.
Yeah, he works. He works with his dad, and he is. It's interesting to get him kind of just outside. So that the whole board game thing for us initially with Enrique was get him out of the house, let him be with other people, and let him interact. And so that's how Enrique has become this integral part of just the group, I guess.
You guys have a big... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
You guys have a big extended family in a sense, like Sade. And I feel like there's a big family.
It is.
Yeah.
Sade's finally moved out of the house. We're proud of her finally.
Yeah, she's got her own place now, but she's over here right now, so it's all good.
She's never far from home.
She's never far from home.
Tell her I am like following her roller skating journey, and I am like,
Oh, she will be so happy.
I am very pro everything that she's doing. She's putting herself out there. She's learning. She's documenting it. Like the fearlessness to document. Like, I don't want anyone to see me like do that. But she's done a really good job.
She's yeah. I don't have children, but she's my child. I have never, I told Jerry and I've told Gina, and it's so weird to not have children, but yet feel like someone is your child and have the love that I'm like, is this what a parent feels toward their child? Cause like, I love this person. And one day she was out there mowing our yard and something happened with the lawnmower. And so I'm out there like teaching her, like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I was like, I feel like a dad. I'm out here like teaching you how to mow the yard and put gas in the lawnmower and crank it up. And she's just, she just has this natural, like, bright attitude, and she's very like open, and everything is new. And despite the fact that she grew up in very not that way circumstances, she's just like, she's so, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. See, I'm not good with words.
Bon vivant.
There you go. And it's just like, she's just very happy to be around. But yeah, she did move out, get her own place. She's proving herself self-sufficient. And I'm like, whatever, great. You can move back in whenever you want. But
you're an empty nester.
You're not driving by her house, her apartment anymore, are you, at night to make sure the doors are locked?
No, we got the GPS to make sure she makes it home safe, so we're all good.
Though, like the first night she was out of the house, he tried to call her the morning to check on her. She slept in, and next thing you know, Gaby's over there kicking in the front door.
It's
sure
scary.
Right.
It's scary when you call and like they don't answer, and I'm like, why is she not answering? She's clearly been murdered. I've got to go check. I want to find the body. And she's like, oh no, I just overslept. I'm like, oh my God. And like literally, I cannot comprehend the pressure and responsibility of being a parent. Like that's just, oh my God, Jerry, how do you do it?
Well, Jerry has 2 children,
Jerry,
right?
Excuse
Yes.
me. He's also, this guy drives professionally. So for him to like drive to a destination to check on something, no big deal.
No, I'm like, I'm the Dominic Toretto of checking on people.
Yeah, come on now.
She's family. When you're family, you're in. I've got to take care of
you.
You
Gotta check in on your family.
This is why he has to watch all the Fast and Furious so that he can get in on these.
Yeah, that's why you don't understand family right now.
I guess I don't.
Watched all of the Fast and Furious.
He's the person with the children. He has, I think, 2 living, breathing children that are still alive.
Yes.
But you still don't understand family because you haven't watched all of the Fast and the Furious movies.
Oh, sure, you've got family, but you don't really get family.
If they ever so
family's not just about family. Family's about Fast and the Furious.
You can like conquer anything. It basically gives you superpowers. You can become an astronaut and go to space if you understand family.
Oh, geez.
According to F9. So to merge this somewhat back into board gaming, are y'all still playing board games regularly or not so much anymore?
Not since the pandemic.
You're a D&D guy now. Okay. So
I'm playing like video. I'm playing Stardew Valley and Story of Seasons.
Okay. So how did...
Wow, so much judgment in those.
Okay. I think Jerry has played some Stardew Valley. I was a heyday guy, not Stardew Valley.
Take Stardew Valley and buy a little game called Graveyard Keeper.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to write that down. Joseph.
Graveyard Keeper is Stardew Valley for
That's
people who have...
That's right.
I think it might be. I'll have to see. Graveyard Keeper. I know it's on Steam, but yeah, Graveyard Keeper is basically Stardew Valley with people who have a sense of humor. It's a great game where you're keeping a graveyard and sometimes harvesting people's organs to sell on the black market instead of corn. So it's the same. So.
Okay. I feel like sometimes you guys are the game board whisperer Like you're just like, so I hear you like this, then you should play this.
What was the game with the Bloody End? Have y'all ever played the Bloody End?
No, what's that?
It's a quick little card game where people are literally staying at your hotel and you have to decide whether or not you want to murder them and then have to hide the bodies in these caskets before the police show up.
So
I have this game, never played it.
I want to let all the board game snobs, aficionados, audience members know that I've never killed anyone. I'm not planning to kill anyone. I don't have such fantasies because I feel like all the recommendations from this point on are going to be death related.
Send all of your death related emails to Denva.
So, okay, we have one small story and then we can go back just to more game board related. So this isn't the last game. So I have Secret Hitler in front of me for all this is an audio medium.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were having a 4th of July get together at a brewery. And Joe was like, okay, we should take some things. We should take Kodanames with us. Wink, wink. And we should bring.
It took me a second.
And we should bring Secret Hitler. So I have a grad student who comes and I was like, you should bring your boyfriend, the more the merrier. We get there. I'm about to take it out. And then I hear him speak in his accent. He's German.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, y'all, we cannot play Secret Hitler.
I don't care.
I was like, we can't play.
I've had a few.
It's all good, bro.
I was like, no, we are not playing Secret Hitler.
Don't see the issue with this.
So I have heard that. I mean, I have heard that the German people are very sensitive to that whole thing.
Oh yes.
Yeah, well, it's just like when I.
Well, that's why they have the Secret Sith version of this game.
Right.
And I when I was in Naples, I mean, Gomorrah, which is like their version of the mafia, is a real thing. You don't joke around about it. It's not funny. They had this huge municipal building, which had these small figures on it. And I walked by it one day and I was like, oh, what's that? And it was in pictorial form, all the people who died from mafia related crimes that year. And it filled a 4-story building.
Good grief.
So like, you don't joke about the mafia in Italy. It's not. It's not like you don't go over there and be like, isn't this a funny thing? And they're like, no, people have died. It's actually not funny.
You're not quoting The Godfather.
No, I'm not. That's why I was like, I think it probably would make him feel, as the only German here, very awkward for us to play this game. So we did not play it.
You did not? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it can be problematic at times in certain situations. Well, there's people that do just have issues with it. And then those.
I like the game. I like Secret Hitler the game though. Like I think it's fun.
And that's why they have the Secret Sith version, which is Star Wars related and not Hitler related.
Yeah.
But for all those Order 66 people out there to fulfill your fantasy of finding the Sith, yes. Oh, yeah, Gaby, y'all got your Bubba top 5, don't you? Do you have your Bubba top 5?
We can make it happen.
We can do it.
All right.
I mean, the rules seem very loose.
The number 5 is
well, Joe, you seem very loose, so you're good.
Yes.
And his words are getting longer for some reason.
Me and Joe are spirit animals.
I was recently on a 30-day, it was a get healthy kick. My wife's like, 30 days. Let's just focus on 30 days of getting healthy, which also included no alcohol.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
These have been the most difficult 30 days of my life. And my wife doesn't seem to, I'm like, babe, and so like every other day, I'm like, oh, how about a beer now? And she doesn't understand. She started to get irritated because I was bringing up drinking every other day. She's like, babe, you bring it up way more than me. I was like, I enjoyed it way more than you. I enjoy alcohol. It doesn't make me a bad person. I don't, but I managed to get past the 3-day period of, if I had to start to have withdrawals or not. So that was good. I was happy of that. But I did make it the 30 days. And so today was my day to imbibe. So lucky y'all. But I had.
Huzzah.
I don't feel like you're drinking. Wait, have you guys all started Mythic Quest yet? I remember you talked about it with another guest.
I've watched up into. I'm midway through the second season.
Man, I'm so jealous of you. I wish I could be at that point. I want to watch it all.
I haven't watched it.
You haven't?
Watch it.
Jerry, you should watch it.
Mythic Quest.
It's one of those shows, and it's just like a lot of things. You watch it takes an episode or two. It's still very good on the first couple episodes, but you're not quite sure of where they're going.
Oh, I was sold on episode 1.
Me too.
But by the time you get, into it somewhat, and especially like we talked about that pandemic episode, I never expect, I'm not saying words.
You are.
I watched a movie here recently, and I just texted Jerry about it, and I said, this movie, my top 5 movies of all time are movies that move me emotionally. And it's been a long time since that's happened. And my caveat is Avengers Endgame. And I know that's, mainstream, blah, blah, blah. But when he died, it got me.
Don't spoil it for me. I haven't watched it yet.
No, actually, the most emotional part of Avengers Endgame is when all the portals open, and then you get Black Panther coming through. You haven't seen it?
No.
No, not a big Marvel. I'm trying to get into Marvel. There's too many movies.
There's too many movies. My favorite Marvel's the Batman one.
But it made me emotional, and I gauge my stuff on how does it touch me emotionally. So I watched a movie that I told Jerry about today, and I was like, this is my top 5 has not changed in probably 15 years.
And I agree with you. Peter Rabbit is a emotional movie.
I was like, why is he telling us the name of the movie? He's like, a movie I discussed.
It was a Pig with Nick Cage.
Oh, I don't know this.
It just come out like a week ago. You look up, you can watch it's on Vudu, it's on Prime.
Nicolas Cage is a national treasure.
Watch. No pun intended. Or pun intended, I guess, actually. Oh, no. He was a national treasure.
Don't give me coming in.
Gone in 60 seconds. Come on.
Oh, so anyway, he has this truffle pig. Someone steals his truffle pig. He goes after the pig.
This sounds like John Wick.
Basically.
It completely. I don't want to say anything, because if I say anything that I want to say, it will tip you off to how it ends up being.
I'll watch it tonight.
It's on Vudu. It's on Prime. Pig with Nick Cage.
We're done.
It made me.
We're not done. Sorry.
We're stopping it now. We're stopping it now. Y'all go watch the movie. It made me emotional, and the way the whole thing was handled, it was just, it blew me away.
Question though, I don't want to cry.
Yeah, there's a good chance.
Okay,
but
no, I'm not watching this.
But it's kind of a good cry. It's kind of a good cry.
A good cry.
Like,
well, so I would say in terms of Mythic Quest, I can completely understand what you're saying. I really enjoyed the origin story. So the precursor one where it was that couple, they told the backstory of kind of the development group that was there before Mythic Quest. I thought that was beautifully done. And if you like rom-coms of like the 90s, early 2000s, it plays on like a high fidelity kind of themes. It's just really, really well done. And it's solidified into like a short 40-minute segment. And it just shows the arc of like the beginning of a relationship until its end, and how creative genius and like greed and all those things can meld into one and complicate a narrative. So I thought they have some great writers on that show. But I agree with you with the quarantine one. I felt as if it just touched on all of the range of emotions. Like, and I think they do a lot. They deal with a lot of issues so well and so cleverly, and they don't take themselves so seriously. And to be honest, I'm really shocked that is from the guys from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Those genius people. Those guys are geniuses.
I didn't. Good Lord, I immediately forgot what I was going to say. Oh,
that's okay.
So, first of all, I said I don't like the in-screen stuff, like that one movie that was like all in-screen, like this is through the Zoom or whatever. And then I was like, Christian Solard, one of our listeners, he's like, it's about the pandemic. I'm like, I don't want to watch a pandemic. Why do I want to watch a pandemic episode? Who wants to go through that again? But man, it was good. You just got to watch it, Jerry. You got to watch it.
I'll watch it. I'm reading a book right now, so I haven't been watching any television.
What book are you reading?
I'm reading a book so that I can watch the series that just come out, The North Water. Anything that has
water
in it. Anything in the 1800s.
He's a big ocean guy.
Ocean. If it's on a sailboat, ponds, and it's the 1800s, I am. That was when I was supposed to be. Was in that time period.
Stick to the lakes you're used to, Jerry.
The Terror. If you ever get a chance to watch that, it is an amazing movie. Okay. The Terror.
The book's better than the show. The show's really good.
The book and the show are two separate things, in my opinion. Both of them amazing. And it's got Jared, who's my man?
Harris.
Jared Harris, the guy from Chernobyl.
Did y'all watch Chernobyl?
We watched.
I think we watched. Really? Yeah, well, I think Joe. I watched a tiny bit of it.
It's pretty depressing. Like, it's a pretty depressing show.
Intense.
Yeah.
So now all right. How do you guys feel about Adam Sandler?
Oh dear.
He had his day. What are you talking about? We're talking about
Joe is going
movies that have made you cry.
I don't know that I've watched. Okay, I have not watched any serious Sandler movies.
Oh man.
Now that click, was it one with the remote?
All right. Yeah. At least somebody's on the same page as me. Because me and my father watched Click together, and at the end of that movie, we were both in tears.
That is a strangely emotional, and again, like a time travel type thing, almost a little bit when you're dealing with relationships. There,
and that's why this came up again because I was thinking about it earlier.
It is a strangely emotional show for it being Adam Sandler. I watched his Uncut Jewels or Gems or whatever.
Uncut Gems. Oh man, I thought that was amazing. Denva left the theater because she got too anxious during that movie.
It gave me anxiety.
That last 15 minutes,
I can't watch it. I've just heard about it. I can't watch it.
It was very.
It was amazing.
Yeah, they just did an excellent job in terms of how they presented just his character. He was not likable, but at the same time, you kind of halfway liked him. It was like he's a scumbag, but it's
Adam
like
Sandler did an amazing job playing that role. And whoever cut that movie just murdered it, just killed it. It was just perfect. The score, the 70s like music in there, whatever it was.
I think so. They did a lot of the. I think what was problematic and not problematic, sorry, but I think what would be problematic probably for Gaby is that you in real time, as you go through the story with him, begin to feel his pressure. You feel in a way that no other movie has ever done for me. I felt the crunch. I felt the pressure. I felt like, okay, no, we need more time. Like I was saying that to myself, we need more time. No, please don't do this.
This is along those very lines. I just posted this. I'm trying to get our Twitter going a little bit more. So I've been posting random stupid stuff on there.
That'll work.
I have an issue with books and movies, and this is a me thing. Whenever the stress gets high, I will go to the end of a book to see if the guy I'm worried about makes it, and then I can read the rest of the book without having that stress on me because I literally, and that's why I'm medicated now, I literally can't handle the stress. Because I'm reading Project Hail Mary right now by the guy that did The Martian. It's very good. And I'm like, is this guy going to make it? And I'm forcing myself not to go to the last chapter and say, is this the main character of the book? Is he going to be okay? And Pig, I was watching Pig and I'm like, I want to watch this movie, but and Pig is not like a thriller, and they say it's a thriller, but it's not really. But you're wondering, is he going to find the pig? How's it going to end? I want to go to the end, see how it ends. That way, I can watch the rest of the movie relaxed.
I thought it was a live action Peppa Pig. Is it not?
It's the gritty reboot.
I feel you, Gaby. I'm like that. I will definitely go to a Wikipedia page and go, all right, so how does this end? I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this anxiety.
I've done that so many times. I have anxiety issues. I've done that so many times. Wikipedia, you look up any movie and go to the plot, bam, there you go. All right, I can relax now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, for certain things I don't want to know, but like I've done that so many times and it pisses my mom off so much.
Yeah, I can't handle that. My wife will do that. She'll spoil books. And I don't understand that. I like to go down the path. I like that stress. I like that stress. I want the
rabbit hole. I think I got some anxiety issues, but like I want the rabbit hole.
I do too. I like that sense of.
Well, it has ruined many of book for me. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, oh well, now I don't need to finish reading it.
I like that sense of. I like it when a movie makes you feel like you're in that situation. My wife doesn't do horror films or anything like that, but she loves The Quiet Place. And we went and watched the second Quiet Place. And I remember when we left that theater, I said, the sound in that movie was so perfect because there's times when the person's moving and you're just trying to be quiet too. Like you could feel yourself in the movie theater holding your breath. And I said that whoever like wrote the script for that movie itself, just the scenes, it's basically mimicking what every parent goes through when they're trying to put their infant to sleep. Like they're trying to lay them down and get their arm out from under them and don't make any noise and walk through the room and not kick anything. It's like this sense of like you can hold your breath. And like the whole time this show's going on, every time the monster or whatever was after him, that sense of trying to be quiet and every move they make, it's like you're trying. There's at some point in time you've done something like that yourself, like you're trying to not make noise and you're with them. And I think the same thing with that Uncut Gems, that last 15 minutes of that show where you're just sitting there going, please don't do this.
Yeah.
Like, don't make this stupid deal.
It was amazing.
Like, this is stupid. Don't do this. And then it's like, he's lost his mind. He doesn't care. Let's just do it. I've got to do something. And then that tension just builds up because it's like, oh, nothing is going right for you the whole show. This is not going to go right for you either. Why are you doing this? And you're with them and you're panicked the entire time. I love it when a show can pull that off. And the only way, I think the best shows really feed off of our own experiences in some way. Like I think, I think everybody has been. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No. I think you're right, and I think there's something interesting about him of being an anti-hero, but also empathetic, where you're just like you have gotten so far in over your head. Mm-hmm. There is no way this is going to work for you. You've made promises you can't keep. You're despicable. But what I think is really great about any kind of acting or any kind of movie is where a character can be despicable, but you can still like have some sympathy. And I think that's the fine line that movie did. You don't have a good movie where someone is despicable and you're like, I hate this person, and that's it. That is not like compelling.
I think what it is, and I've noticed this in horror films, like probably nobody's been chased by an axe murderer. So when you see these scenes where someone's running and there's somebody chasing them, but it's like that's hard for you to internalize. But everybody has come home late at night and your porch lights off, or you're walking to your car and you're trying to get your keys out and the door won't lock, and you have that feeling of, did I see something? What's that noise? What's that? And you're trying, and it's not, you can't get the door unlocked, or you have that sense of, I feel pressure. Something might get me, but there's nothing really here, but you react that way. It's just an amazing feeling. And we all have that, and it plays into that. But anyways, yeah, it's just a great, that those movies that play into that same sense of, a sensation that we've all had of either trying to be quiet or in a hurry or something like that. Those are always great. It's always great.
So what? Since we're
Bubba top 5.
okay. So Bubba top 5 is what is the last game you played?
I think it was Azul.
Yeah, I think it was Azul for both of us.
Yeah, our good friends are coming over tomorrow, and we were at their place before the pandemic, and we played Azul with them. So yeah, I thought about this.
We sadly have not played a single game together through the pandemic.
Someone feels a certain way about that.
Well, you can remedy that now, can you not?
Yes, we can.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow, if they want to, they have a newborn. They're going to be like, please just feed us and shut up.
Okay, so number 4. This has been a difficult one because it's usually describe a game by box art. Well, since you're an art historian, we might should do that one, but we never
The
guessed
box
it.
has a 15th century vibe with the lighting.
A vertical brush stroke.
Yeah.
Well, I have a box here. I mean, we can play that game or we can't. I mean, I know you were thinking about getting that out of the Bubba top 5.
I've been thinking about doing, because we had a game we played a few times where we do a board game antonyms, where it's the title but in antonym form.
Yeah.
So like, instead of Godfather, it's Devil Mother type thing.
All right, well, I will do the describe the box art one.
Oh, dear.
Denva can do the antonym.
No. We'll have one thing.
So this one, it's a nice blue outlined box, darker blue. It has 2 people on it. They're sharing some bountiful harvest.
Viticulture.
And you got it.
I love this game.
That was really quick, guys.
Huzzah!
It's one of our favorites, and we can thank you guys for that, because that was within your first 10 or 20 episodes.
Yeah. I mean, we were almost going to buy Scythe at one point, but now I hear you guys are like, we hate Scythe. Scythe is the worst.
We have definitely cooled on Scythe, and we played a 2-player game not too long ago, and we're like, yeah, it's mechanically got some things that are fine, but it was pretty boring, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Play Hansa Teutonica instead if you want that scythe action on the player board you have. Hansa Teutonica is an incredible game. Number 3, your favorite movie.
Can I do my favorite show?
I've been thinking about this one, and I got an answer.
Okay. We'll allow it.
Clerks.
Oh.
Clerks is probably my favorite movie of all time.
Kevin Smith is doing the new He-Man on Netflix, and I have not watched anything of Kevin Smith's I like. However, I have not seen the old Clerks. I know it's very 90s based, and,
It's all dialogue. All dialogue. The entire film is dialogue.
I've never seen it, so I have to watch it to make my judgment.
It's basically me and you in cargo pants saying what's on our minds.
Pretty much, yeah.
And trench coats. It's us unedited. It's a very, yes, that show is one of those that
he filmed this for under $10,000.
Yes, yeah, and I mean it's niche. Like it speaks to some people though. It's an interesting show.
In a convenience store, and it takes place in a convenience store, and they had to film it at night because they were filming it in an actual convenience store in New Jersey. So it had to be after the convenience store closed. So the opening scene, the main character goes up to the lock for the shutters for the convenience store, the steel shutters, and there's gum stuck in it, so he can't unlock them. So that explains why the shutters are closed and it's dark and you can't see outside of the convenience store.
Oh my god!
Throughout the entire movie, which is genius.
I'll give it a shot.
It's all dialogue and it's great. I love that movie. I've probably watched Clerks more times than I've watched any other movie in my life.
I've never watched Clerks with him.
He's a Clerks guy.
Well, you have. You just have never stayed awake the entire time.
So what's your favorite show, Denva?
Okay. Ooh, all right. It might be Fleabag.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Very, very well written. Very well written.
That was
funny.
that kind of took me off guard. I'm like, this is good. This is funny. Because I was like, the like one of the, I forget who I was listening to, but they're like, it's about this lady and she's not like that nice of a person or something. I was like, oh, that's an interesting take on a TV show. But then like the way that she like breaks the fourth wall and stuff. I really liked that show way more than I ever thought I would.
Yeah, it's really, I think there's not been faster writing. Like everything lands so quickly. And I'm going to make a comparison here that is very different, but Gilmore Girls has very, very technical, fast-paced written dialogue. And Fleabag is like, I don't want to use the word far more sophisticated, but still is very like technically well-written beat writing. Like every beat lands and every beat has a purpose. And it's just, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is like chef's kiss again.
Bubba has always talked about Gilmore Girls. He loves the writing of Gilmore Girls.
My wife loves Gilmore Girls, especially the, I can't remember the guy, the real skinny guy who has the very flat affect in Gilmore Girls.
The guy, the love interest, right? Who owns the coffee shop?
Not him. It's the other guy. The guy that comes in. He's like a B character, but he's obviously well written. He's got a very seems like a one syllable name. I can't remember. It'll come to me here in a second. Remember. But the dialogue in Gilmore Girls is awesome, and it's obviously I like. Nothing irks me more, which is one of the reasons why I have some issues and feelings about certain large action franchises that utilize the same words, the same dialogue over and over and over, that literally a fifth grader could write better dialogue than what they're saying. And that gets me. And then there's these other shows that obviously is well written and crafted, and there's meaning behind it, and it sounds like people talking, or it sounds in a way that's not like people talking, but in a just snappy and what you think is smart and funny, kind of like a Schitt's Creek. Kind of like some of the lines that the mother has in that series is just incredible, and it's obvious that whoever writes for her, it's like that.
That's why I like the guy that wrote The Martian. I read The Martian was good. This Project Hail Mary, the way he writes his main characters from his first person point of view, it's always amusing and funny. And I was putting that in. I just finished Dune, the book.
You're a saint. I read Dune. You're a saint.
I haven't read Dune.
I didn't like it. And I know that's blasphemy.
Dune is the one my mom read when she was pregnant with Amy.
With you?
No, I think it was Amy or Colin.
One of them. But it's
one of my sisters. That's why one of my sisters has like a flat spot on her head.
But the oh good Lord, the conversation in Dune between characters is just like so unnatural, and it's like I did not like Dune. I just didn't like it.
Well, it's very stilted and it's very draconian in a sense, but I think it has to be because I think I've listened to a podcast on Dune because I'm a nerd, and I think when he first wrote it, he thought it was going to be a standalone. So he's doing a lot of world building. He's creating like a very Joseph Campbell, like hero's narrative. And so a part of it being kind of, I don't know if we can call Dune a real science fiction. Don't get me started on that. But like, I think a part of his stilted writing is trying to create this sense of a different world, one in which we have a hero boy, which must assume so much power, right? So how do we other people, right? How do we create this technically alien people is by creating this very stilted hierarchical language. And I think that's what he's trying to do. Dune is like an investment, dude. Like once you get into it, I was like, oh no, I'm going to be with this.
Well, that's why it took me since January. I just finished it. And most of that was on Audible. And I told Jerry, I was like, the first few chapters is all world building, and it will hurt your brain with all these Benny Gesserit, Squeeze That Shot of Rock, and Give a Dog a Bone, all this stuff that they're talking about. And then, but once it starts into the Game of Thrones stuff of these different families, I was like, I like that. Then when everything happens and they run off into the desert, that's where it kind of dropped me.
But then there's sandworms, and then you can talk about tremors. Like you're already having your brain.
Yeah, I
what
like
it looks like.
that was good. But that was like towards the end though. It was like, I don't know. There's a little bit of a lull in Dune, but I'm anxious to see the movie.
Wait, didn't they already make a movie?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're making a new one.
It's like an 8-hour, like 4-part craziness, right?
There's a
not seen
movie,
it.
and then there's like a a 90s or 2000s like miniseries too.
Oh,
Yeah, I know there was one that was like somewhere around the 6 to 8 hour mark in length.
That was the
But my friends from my hometown would occasionally, imbibe in some of the devil's herb and like want the entirety of it.
I made with Gaby just after he finished the book the other day. I made him watch the movie. Wasn't it the 80s? It was 84
Yes.
when it came out.
1984. Yeah, I just looked it up.
1984, and I had to show him like my favorite scenes from the train wreck that is that show, because it was just an acid trip. And one of my favorite lines is delivered by Patrick Stewart at the beginning of the film, where he comes in, tries to get the protagonist to duel with him with their knife fighting little shield things they have, and he says, "I'm not in the mood," and Patrick Stewart says, "Mood is for cattle and love play," and then he pulls a knife out and attacks this guy, and I said, Patrick Stewart delivers that line just like you think Patrick Stewart would. He's serious. Somebody wrote that line, he read it, and he just, all right, I'll go with it. And there's so much craziness in that film. Sting fighting at the end of that show. I don't know what kind of knife fighting that was, but that whole dance routine that he does, while I don't know what they were wearing, but that whole show is just insanity. And I cannot wait to watch the new one. Like I am thrilled to death, because Denis Villeneuve is the guy directing it. And wasn't he the cinematographer for 1914, if I'm not, or
1917?
I wanted to
1917. I'm sorry. Yeah, I believe so.
I
believe so.
Yeah, hold on. Oh, there's that French guy in it too. Sorry, now
Timothy Chalamet.
yes, who everyone is like fangirling over.
I fangirl for Timothy Chalamet. The King. Have you not watched The King?
I think we watched it with your mom.
Yeah, you watched it with my mom.
You were there.
Your stomach will your stomach will turn and with the historical inaccuracies, but it is a great film.
Yeah. Well, you can't watch these shows for like complete like you just can't.
Number 2.
Yeah, Gaby's like reeling over the fact that we are definitely going way over on time.
This I highly suspect this episode will not be edited. So there's a 90% chance that the penis tree will be left in, because there's no way Gaby's going to be editing all this. So
A board game you'd like to see made into a movie.
Oh,
geez, that's a tough one.
Oh my God.
Denva, you go first.
Azul.
Azul.
Everything's blue.
That's Avatar.
Most desperate. Oh, don't even get me started.
Don't get him.
That's
Actually,
such a trash
Joe.
movie.
No,
Trash.
actually,
trash.
oh, we're not going to go down there. Okay, Godfather.
So terrible.
Godfather.
The Godfather was a show.
made into a movie. Oh, genius. I bet it would win an Oscar too.
We do like playing Godfather.
We do love playing Godfather.
Love Godfather.
The number 1 is basically what you're enjoying right now, and it can be anything. Movie, book, knitting,
It's like I know what I'm doing.
cycling, juggling.
I have been just miserable at work and trying to get through it.
So Joe
Alcohol,
has,
whiskey. That's what he's been enjoying.
Yes.
No, I'm going to speak for Joe in the capacity of wife. So Joe has been making these built-in shelves for my office. We're not in my office, but he's building them.
She's been enjoying this. I've been enjoying the carpentry aspect of it, but
Yeah, so you've been enjoying the carpentry
that I don't have enough time for.
So he said that he was really enjoying it, but now the truth is coming out.
No, I do enjoy doing it.
I loved it. It's a labor of love.
Yeah. So
I'm building my wife some built-ins.
He says he loves it. I guess it's not true. Anyway, what am I enjoying right now? I'm really enjoying watching Ted Lasso and Mythic Quest.
Both
I think
those shows are great.
Those have been like the sunshine to the end of my day after like trying to figure out how we're gonna like wear masks in class and all kinds of stuff like that. Not to bring it back down. We're not going to get political.
Me and Jerry are both anti-vaxxers. Don't worry.
Wait a second. I thought Jerry was a medical professional.
No, let me clarify this. I've had all my vaccines, but I am anti-vax. I think we've got too many people, and everyone else we'll just kind of thin the herd out. I'm Darwinist. I'm okay. I'm okay with this whole.
There's too many people on this planet.
Fittest is different than anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, I'm big on this. We don't need that many laws regarding safety. I don't think there should be that many things that are regulated. I think we just need to let if things happen and you're just not smart enough to figure it out, and it costs a few lives, then maybe that's just how it is. The roads are too cramped as it is.
I hate traffic. I do hate traffic.
I found out something the other day into looking into. There's this YouTube channel that I watch regarding laws. And they hit you with these laws that you just don't realize existed. And
did you know that it's illegal to snore with your windows open in the state of Massachusetts?
I would assume it would be. All the Harvard people would be woken up.
It is actually a law on the books.
Oh, jeez.
They're the mutual combat laws that some states have. I did not realize that there are states that if you both agree to engage in mutual combat, as long as somebody is not killed as a result of it, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. The cops won't stop you. That it's legally okay to essentially to fight as long as it's not with weapons. And I think that that's a great thing. I think that
is that Oklahoma or Texas?
I don't think so, because we can't do that here.
Fisticuffs.
Because we would be down for that quickly. Like that would be a thing.
That's
like,
how we would. That's how we
would. That in the soft states like Massachusetts.
No, it's like
going to be a handful of people that'll try this.
It's like in Oregon. I mean, like, what are they going to do up there?
I would say that would be.
I'm going to put my latte down and I'll fight you here. I was like, no,
that'd be an excellent way.
Well, Oregon can like be, once you get out of Seattle, Oregon can be like ride or die. There are a lot of sovereign citizens in that area of the world.
They're real close to Montana and the Canadians up there now. Them Canadians are crazy. Them Canadians, I'm telling you, them Canadians now.
8% of Canadians have made love in a canoe. Fact.
I like how you know that.
How are we polling these people?
I don't know.
Come on.
That's a fact, though. I saw it.
Somebody stands outside the Tim Hortons with a board, a questionnaire, be like, "Hey, so check."
Jeez.
So have you done it in a canoe?
This is completely random, but this would be a weird. This is a banter thing I saw, but it's very interesting. If you count the number of chirps from a cricket within a 15-second period,
Jerry's shaking his head,
and add 37, it gives you an approximate Fahrenheit and temperature of that day.
Yeah, they don't do Celsius.
They're not metric people.
Kelvin is for the birds.
Yeah, they're not metric.
And that's just my.
If
you take a cricket, count the number of chirps in 15 seconds, then add 37. It will give you close to the temperature in Fahrenheit that you're experiencing at that moment.
Gaby, I feel like you're telling me off. You're like, add?
Don't just count them. Don't just count them. You got to add 37 or else everything else is fruitless.
You know what? I think you should have been a teacher. And don't you got to carry the one now. I know
You got to.
Trick around here. I'm trying to divide this.
Don't be just counting. You can't just be counting them chirps. You got to add 37. What do you not understand? And also, the blob of toothpaste on the end of your toothbrush is called a nurdle.
Oh.
There you go.
Somebody just made that.
No, that's a fact.
Language.
Those are facts. I only state absolute facts.
I think we need a fact checker, but I know
No, Rike will look stuff up, and that's how we tend to know like what the name of items are, because he will ask if he sees something, he'll ask you, what is this called? And so it's like, that's how I know, like if you go buy a coffee somewhere and those little brown things, like the coaster things those things that you stick in there, those are like called Zarts.
Zarts?
I had no clue about that, but apparently in Zarts, Z-A-R-T, I didn't know that's what that's called, but apparently that is a thing, and they call those Zarts. I did not.
And again, this is why Latin's a dead language. We're not adding words to Latin, we're adding words to the rest of the languages. And at some point, we need to just stop.
Well, Joe, we've not got to ask. Is that the top?
That's it. That's it.
I'm looking at the Zart thing. Sorry.
I feel like we missed one. But
no.
Like, what's your favorite game? Did we have that answered? It seems like that was.
I think my favorite game might be the Quest for El Dorado. I love that game. And you know what? My wife won't play that game with me anymore because I walked her one time.
Just that one time. You shouldn't hold grudges, Denva.
No, they're even better. It's a modular game, so like we could build that game and like make the map however we want. So I could never block her in that same spot again. Nope.
Denva,
I'm gonna.
That was it.
As Elsa
I'm gonna buy Enrique a Greyhound ticket and send him up there. Y'all get ready. Enrique's gonna be headed up there. I'll buy him a Greyhound ticket. He'll stay up there, sleep on your couch, and he'll play El Dorado with you. He'll play whatever you want.
Well,
just tell him.
You're in what, Delaware?
Oh, we're in Maryland now. We're in good old Cecil County.
Ah, okay.
We're like the only way in and out of our neighborhoods through Delaware.
And so we got Delaware, Massachusetts. Some of the guys from Superboard Sunday, they're up there in the Northeast somewhere. I think they're Massachusetts too. But lots of.
Once you get past Kansas, I have no idea where you're at. You go north of Kansas, and I'm lost.
Well, then you'll have to come with Enrique. Like everyone should just come up. Isn't there someone in Maryland that you guys know to play board games with?
That's where Brian Aldrich, Frankie and Brian, they're up there somewhere. And now Roberto, he's in Massachusetts.
Roberto, the hairdresser, hairstylist, hair.
Master designer.
Cosmetologist.
Trying to get it right.
He's a master designer of hair.
Yeah. Is he actually going to like start his own YouTube where he cuts hair and asks game designer questions?
He should.
I sure hope he does.
Harry Styles.
One
Direction.
He could do it. But I don't know. He's missing a great opportunity.
We need those royalties.
You could be his first guest, Gaby. He could shave your head.
With a flat. I've always wanted to do the flat razor like the old timey guys, you know. But that makes me a little bit nervous.
I think you're going to be taking your life into your own hands. Okay.
Well, I think that's going to do it for us. Do you have any questions for us?
I mean, what's next? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
No, we're on the job interview.
Wait, are you guys going to start streaming board games?
No. Roberto asked us a similar question. We just don't. Basically, we don't have the time. It's easy to podcast. Podcasting is probably the easiest form of content creation because you just turn on a microphone and you're good to go. Whereas streaming, YouTube, all that stuff requires cameras. I would have to do it on iPhone. That'd probably be okay. But I don't know. No. The short answer is no.
I flirted with thinking of starting an OnlyFans where it's like where we just stream our games.
Wait a minute.
Here we go. Like tease people, and it's just us playing the same game over and over and over. Here we go. Just people just sitting there. Wait, when does this get erotic? It's just
You're
us
both
sitting
happily married men, and you're like, I'm starting an OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. We'll see what happens.
You haven't seen them shave my bald head.
And just every like 4 minutes, it's just wedding man to the camera.
You cannot partake of this beauty.
Taken.
I mean, I don't, I do think that you have to have some kind of like visual presence because
Yeah, I would help.
people like that man who met Enrique, when he met Jerry, he was like, "You're not what I expected." People need to know what you look like. But people deserve to know.
So just to describe Jerry real quick.
Oh,
so
wow.
he doesn't get confused.
Yes, please.
Majestic hair. Just full head on top.
Joe is 3 whiskeys in.
Yes.
Probably 4.
He was pre-gaming.
I mean,
I had a rough week at work.
I would say at this point, I think you just have to stay tuned to figure out like what your heroes look like, right? There will be, just like the American government is moving closer and closer to disclosure, so too are the board game snobs moving closer and closer to disclosure, disclosing from the anonymity of what Jerry and Gaby look like. So stay tuned.
We shall burst forth onto the scene.
There was a podcast, a board game podcast that was very popular that I used to listen to when I first got into board gaming, that they went the route of starting their own YouTube channel. And until that time, I had never saw any photographs of any of the 4 or 5 gentlemen that happened to be, and I don't want to name them, but it was like this very secret cabal group of people. And when they started their YouTube channel, it killed it for me for some reason, because they all looked, I don't know.
Jerry,
it
how
threw me
dare
off.
you?
It threw me off. It literally threw me off. I don't know what about it. It messed me up. I think that some people, you just want the nut.
It's like when they make a movie of your favorite book and nobody in the movie matches your expectations. It just ruins it for you.
Right.
This just reminds me of Dale and Holly.
I
Do you
know.
want to tell them that story?
No. We don't have time. We have to let them go. We have to let them go. Joe wants to stay with you guys, but we're going to let you go now.
We've not got to ask Joe any questions. We were all about art with Denva. Joe, what's your favorite light bulb? Brand of light bulb?
Honestly, if I had to choose, it would be the incandescent GE reveal.
See, he has
the
one.
LED. It's complete. Like, it doesn't make sense to install it anywhere nowadays because you got to go LED.
You started
the
this.
light that came out of it was just such a good color rendering index. It was great. It looked good. It was like a perfect neutral white out of a light bulb you could buy at Home Depot.
That describes me perfectly. A neutral white.
But like now you go to buy a light bulb at Home Depot and you have the warm white, or the cool white. And you don't have an actual white. You have yellow or blue.
Yellow and blue, or yellow and white. Yeah.
Like, it's just, there's no, like, they don't hit that. I have strong feelings about color.
Joe has strong feelings about color.
I don't know. Like, is this too long?
You touched on a nerve, Jerry. You touched on a nerve.
Well, we'll get you back on it another time. Next time, we'll try to arrange this when we're together and we have Enrique in tow, and we can allow Enrique to interview Joe regarding all things light. You can enlighten us. And Enrique can be the one to interview you. How about that?
Wait, hold on.
I would just say, just make sure you know the difference between color temperature and lumens. Because lumens the brightness of the light. Color temperature is just the appearance of the light.
I'm leaving. I am leaving. I was going to say, I can't believe Gaby's going to let like Jerry just get that pun in there without like one-upping him.
Well, he said enlightening. I was like, oh, that's a good one, but you know, it's getting late. I'm tired.
See, you started this. Okay.
We enjoyed it very much.
Terrible.
You have exceeded expectations. I have learned a lot, and that's, you know, I don't know much to start off with, so anything's a bonus.
Listen, don't speak about yourself like that. You brought a lot of joy to our home, and also you've enlightened us a great deal, and that means a lot.
And guys, we are a fan of the banter section.
Oh.
So it's almost appropriate that we hit like 95% banter.
The banter is good. The banter is the way to go. Have you heard my recent drops?
You mean I need to know what a drop is, but when you have your like
Let me say, hold on.
Oh, and also, guys, the Depressicon.
I don't know.
The Depressicon.
Yes. That episode, I absolutely loved that episode. And you guys may have encouraged me to actually go see that therapy, so thanks.
Oh,
There you go. You're not the only person that we've had emails from saying, yeah, I after listening to that episode, I realized I needed to take care of some things. And I think that, that was
Important.
That was an important episode that for some reason, again, just came out of absolutely nowhere. I don't know how that was not planned. It was just the banter section.
Embrace that, Jerry.
I guess. I keep telling myself this is a board game podcast.
Yeah,
But
we do enjoy when we're able to be together a lot more. That's why we were telling Roberto, like we had a 30-minute conversation with Roberto of sheer boredom after we stopped recording. That was better than anything we actually put on the podcast. And I was like, that's going to teach me from pushing stop from now on. So it's just we were talking about how he talked about the depression, anxiety, and then we were talking about how we record so much better when we're together. And that probably is not good, but like I'd say most of the podcasts that get recorded are on Zoom or whatever they use nowadays. But me and Jerry bounce off each other just better when we're in person, and we can, I don't know, just read body language and all that type of stuff.
your body's large. It's easy to read.
It's easy to read.
Large fonts.
Bold type. And it's just better. And I don't like doing Zoom. I don't like it, but it's become a necessity in these times that we live in. So
we made you do Zoom. So I mean, listen, if there is a next time, we'll just do it. You'll do it when you guys are together.
We will, definitely. And we'll make it a special one with Enrique just for Joe. Just special for
it'll
Joe.
be just you and
listen,
Enrique and Joe.
I made that kid's career.
Wow. Now he's getting bombastic.
We're gonna give him a 10-minute one-on-one session with Enrique, and we'll see how that goes.
God. I will not be there.
Just Enrique asking questions.
I can't tell you how much I had to edit out of the last episode of Enrique's questions, and it's just like, yeah, Enrique. Yeah, lots of editing when Enrique's on.
Feel free to vibrantly and violently edit this.
I can't wait to listen to this, and it's just going to be you guys interviewing my wife. And this quote at the end.
Oh, I could have swore she was married to somebody. Well, we've enjoyed it a lot. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for giving us another go. Really, this was just me trying to get y'all to listen to us again. That was the whole point of the show.
I mean, honestly, I bet you guys never left my podcast list. It was just I either need to figure out how I was going to DM my
he's a D&D guy now.
Dragon session, or I was like, I have way too much going on in my life right now, and I need to make 5 phone calls for work and figure out what I'm doing next.
Yeah.
It's been an unfortunate year.
It helps to have a lot of road
But I've
time.
listened to like a good 20 plus hours of your podcast in like the past 7
We've done
days.
homework.
You did homework as
And
well.
I missed you guys, and I'm so glad to have you back in my life.
Well, we're glad to be back. And we'll have you back someday as well. So
Just when you think you've gotten out, we pull you back in.
Nice mafia reference. Tie it back in.
I just can't articulate my love for your show.
Wow.
Joe's feeling the love. Well, we love y'all as well. Thanks for coming on. We'll have you on again sometime soon. Until next time, I'm Gaby.
And this is Jerry.
Bye-bye. Okay, so I've stopped recording, or have I?
No, please stop recording.
Thank you for listening to the Board Game Snobs. Stay classy.